Live, News Leader 9 on Fox 54 at 10 starts now.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the news at 10. I'm Samantha Serbin. Jason and Rosalind have the night off. Well, happy Thanksgiving. The giving spirit overflows in Columbus today. A number of organizations work hard to make sure everyone has a hot meal. Our Ben Stanfield takes us into the heart of the Damascus Way organization and their efforts to feed hundreds.
On a rainy Thanksgiving morning, inside the Valley Rescue Mission Women's and Children's Center, sounds of praise pour out of this stereo speaker into a kitchen that is doing the Lord's work. The Damascus Way Ministry feeds hundreds in Columbus each year, and 2020 is no different. This is Douglas McLeod, and this day has powerful meaning in his life. Thursday, marking the 30th year he's devoted his Thanksgiving to others.
In 1990, in September, I called Valley Rescue Mission. I said, I'd like to volunteer for Thanksgiving and Christmas. They said, oh, I'm sorry, we already have our volunteers allocated. I said, this soon? And she said, yes. She said, have you ever heard of Damascus Way? And I said, I'm sorry, I haven't. And she said, well, we need volunteers for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So she gave me directions. Of course, I've lived here all my life, and I've been here since Thanksgiving and Christmas of 1990.
And then there's Robert Lowe. It's year number 2 for him working with Damascus Way. For the Citadel student, he's felt the calling to help.
It's important for me because, I was those people. I was dealing with a lot of stuff as a child, and I wanted to help people because I feel like it was necessary.
The meals come down an assembly line, powered by helping hands and hearts from Eden Church, into the bags, out the doorway, and into the city. It takes time to make all of this come together, and McLeod says the impact is for a lifetime. In Columbus, Ben Stanfield, WTVM News Leader 9.
And Damascus Way tells us they fed around 500 people today. To help offer some joy to the less fortunate this Thanksgiving, the Valley Rescue Mission Center volunteers and staff spent a good portion of today passing out traditional Thanksgiving meals. Turkey, ham, stuffing, mashed potatoes, and an assortment of desserts were on the menu. Dozens of volunteers gathered around tables, assembling to-go bags for those in need. And News Leader 9 caught up with a couple of them to ask why they decided to give back today.
Make a difference in somebody's day. Like maybe they might have a rough day and they might come in here and they see all of us helping out and just giving. They might go up.
I just want to help people because sometimes they won't have the need and they won't have family or the money or something to spend Thanksgiving with, and I want to brighten up their day because it's an important day.
The Valley Rescue Mission Center serves the less fortunate every day of the week, which is completely funded through community donation. By the close of Thanksgiving, the Valley Rescue Mission Center estimates they will serve just over 1,000 traditional holiday meals to those in need. What you can do as you're wrapping up your meal this evening to make sure those leftovers won't make you sick, here are some reminders of what you need to do both before and after you cook.
Clean, separate, cook, and chill.
Those are the 4 things you need to remember as you prepare and clean up from your Thanksgiving meal. The CDC estimates 48 million people get sick and more than 128,000 are hospitalized from foodborne illnesses each year in the U.S. Meaning on Thanksgiving Day, you really need to make sure things are done right.
You don't want your guests to get sick either, so just make sure that you prepare those foods according to the directions.
But it's not only important to prepare your food right, but keep it safe to eat leftovers later.
Well, you should refrigerate it within 2 hours. The bacteria is going to grow between 40 degrees and 140 degrees. So you want to put it away in a shallow dish so it gets cooled quickly and put it in the refrigerator before you take a nap.
What exactly needs to go in the fridge or freezer? Pam Kirkland says anything perishable.
A lot of your baked goods can just stay out. Of course, depending on what ingredients are in that as well.
Health officials say the rule of thumb is to try to take in all the leftovers before the Monday after Thanksgiving. Kirkland says anything in the freezer can last a bit longer, and if you do happen to feel ill,
if you do feel sick to your stomach or have nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, you want to stay on clear liquids. Call your healthcare provider, try to rest. and just take it easy.
As remember, all food the first go around, second, third, fourth, all needs to be heated to an internal temperature of 165 degrees.
Already on this Thanksgiving evening and overnight, we are talking about some reduced visibilities with some patchy dense fog. Right now, LaGrange is at 0.3 miles of visibility. Some spots locally are below a quarter mile around Fort Benning and just south of Columbus. So definitely take it slow on the roads. We are under this stationary front here, so we're kind of divided in half, if you will, across the valley, feeling more muggy south of Columbus. North of Columbus, you're feeling a little bit more pleasant out there. Temperature-wise, again, you can see that difference. Low 50s towards the north. Places around Highway 80 are in the 60s, closer to 70 down towards Albany. I'll let you know if those rain chances are going up for Black Friday coming up next. Samantha?
All right, thanks so much, Radek. Sumter County law enforcement has been very busy. 3 murders within 24 hours. Starting with the latest murder, authorities found a person deceased on Middle River Road in Americus around 12:30 this afternoon. Sheriff Eric Bryant says 49-year-old Richard Pitts was struck in the head. Bryant emphasizing there is no evidence of a gunshot wound. One family member of Pitts says the news of his death on Thanksgiving saddened the day.
He's just a good person. We're looking forward to him to see him Thanksgiving today. And then, all this come about, and it just kind of throws me off because we actually were looking for him, and then we could never get in touch with him. That was too
Reports say the alleged suspect was at the scene when police arrived and is now in custody. No word yet on if that person is being charged. And around 8:45 last night, police say 35-year-old Kendrick Williams was found shot to death on Lester Street. No word on a suspect in that case. And just 2 hours earlier, the first fatal shooting in Sumter County, this time in the Rainbow Terrace area shortly after 6 Wednesday evening. The victim was dead when police arrived on scene. The suspect is in custody and is being held at the Sumter County Jail. Meanwhile, in Alabama, state education leaders are bracing for a possible rise in COVID-19 cases after Thanksgiving. The Yellowhammer State already saw a jump by over 600 case reports on the last school dashboard update. But Superintendent Dr. Eric Mackey says there are no plans to shut down schools again. They are continuously working with public health leaders to determine what's best for students as the state deals with COVID-19. Dr. Mackey says preliminary reports indicate more than 5,000 students have not shown up for classes virtual or in person. He says they're likely to have a hard time catching up, and the enrollment drop could mean the loss of hundreds of teachers. That's because the state funding formula is based on enrollment. Mackey says he's hoping the legislature will make a temporary change to avoid that. And they're calling it the calm before the storm. At least that's what officials at the East Alabama Medical Center say we're experiencing as COVID-19 hospitalizations continue rising across the state. Our Katie Cameron brings us more from EAMC.
Hospital officials here at EAMC say that hospitalization rates for COVID-19 patients are at a relatively manageable amount right now. They've even reduced the amount of COVID-19 patients in the past couple of days. They say they anticipate catching up with the rest of the state soon. Bracing for impact. What officials at the East Alabama Medical Center say they're doing as they watch the number of COVID-19 hospitalizations and new cases rise in Alabama. They say they anticipate that same upward trend hitting us here at home too.
Certainly we have our fingers crossed, and we hope that's not the case, but we're just being realistic.
As of Wednesday morning, there were 30 coronavirus patients hospitalized at EAMC, down from the 37 patients earlier this week, and still lower than the peak number they saw back in July, when 62 patients were hospitalized with the virus. Still,
it just seems like with the holidays and everything, it seems like it's just a matter of time before our numbers will be back up into the 40s and above.
Officials say they've tackled the obstacles of a COVID-19 surge before and handled those high numbers of hospitalizations, but it's not something they'd like to face again.
We can't just add hospital beds because it's state governmented, regulated, and then secondly, you just don't have the staff.
Hospital leaders tell us they know people are well aware of the ways to prevent the spread of the virus, wearing a mask, washing your hands, but those methods aren't 100% effective individually. They suggest thinking of it like Swiss cheese. While following all 4 measures doesn't guarantee you won't get the virus.
The more layers we add on, precautions, the more likely we are to block that virus from getting through.
They say it also helps slow the spread of cases and hospitalizations, something Alabama needs going forward. According to the Alabama Department of Public Health, there are nearly 1,500 people hospitalized for COVID-19 across the state. That number is only about 100 less than the peak that we saw back in July. In Opelika, Katie Kamen reporting.
And according to the Alabama Department of Public Health, the state has seen more than 161,000 presumed recoveries. For more on COVID-19, you can visit our sister station website at WTVM.com/coronavirus. There you can also find the latest numbers in your area. AO Discover, a hands-on science museum in East Alabama, kicks off their inaugural Christmas event tomorrow. Families can enjoy a winter wonderland with Christmas trees decorated by local businesses, plus socially distant pictures with Santa Claus, get this, Llama Claus, and a Christmas unicorn. There will be scavenger hunts, STEM demonstrations, music, and food. The founder of AO Discover says with timed entries and other precautions, it's a fun and safe way to enjoy the holidays.
We wanted to provide something, especially this year, for children, students, families to come together and have a safe and magical experience, and also spend some time together, enjoy the holidays together, and then have a little fun and be able to do some traditional holiday things, but also introduce STEM just a little bit.
It costs $25 per household. The celebrations take place Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays beginning November 27th and run through December 20th. Head to WTVM.com for more details. Sounds like something I need to do. Alabama Senator Doug Jones is in his final weeks in the U.S. Senate. We speak with Jones on his way out about his time on Capitol Hill and what's next.
Coverage you can count on. This is News Leader 9 at 10 on Fox 54.
As Capitol Hill in Washington prepares for a new Congress to begin, some lawmakers are on their way out. Some are stepping down. Others, like Alabama Democratic Senator Doug Jones, are leaving after losing re-election. Our Washington Bureau's Peter Zampa reports while the senator is exiting Capitol Hill, there's a chance he might not be going far.
The waning weeks on Capitol Hill for Democratic Senator Doug Jones. A term that lasted just 3 years is coming to an end as Republican Tommy Tuberville takes his place.
I have no regrets. This has been a great ride for me.
The ride began in early 2018 after beating controversial Republican candidate Roy Moore in a 2017 special election to fill a seat once held by Jeff Sessions. Republicans immediately targeted the seat as one they wanted back from Democrats, and Jones fell victim to that effort on Election Day. But he says he does not look back on his time in the Senate or on the campaign trail, wishing he catered more to the conservative base in Alabama.
To appeal to different people, to appeal to this or that, you have to compromise your principles and you compromise who you are, and that's just not the way I approach this job.
Jones notes his work on Capitol Hill isn't quite done. He's hopeful a COVID-19 relief package is passed, in addition to military funding and a general government spending bill. But after that, he passes the torch to Tuberville.
He is his own man, and he will do as he perceives his job to do it the right way. Whether or not I'll agree with it is not really important at this point.
The next chapter for Jones is an open question. The former U.S. attorney has been mentioned as a potential fit to become the next U.S. Attorney General in the Biden administration. Jones is keeping his cards close to his chest.
If I can help in any way to help him succeed, then we will look at that.
Jones' official last day in the U.S. Senate is slated for the first week in January. On Capitol Hill, I'm Peter Zampa.
And President Donald Trump spent part of his Thanksgiving thanking troops deployed overseas for their service. He spoke with 6 units representing each military branch in a video teleconference from the White House. It's the first Thanksgiving for the Space Force, which the president says has a, quote, special place in my heart, end quote. Trump told the troops leading them has been his highest honor, the highest honor of his life.
Very far from home, but today we hope you know that millions of American families are praying in gratitude for the sacrifices you make and the incredible, absolutely incredible job you do. As president, I want to personally express my profound thanks to each and every one of you for your devoted service to our nation. Our nation is doing very well. It's the highest honor of my life to serve as your Commander-in-Chief.
Spoke on vaccines for COVID-19, saying they will start being delivered in a week or two. The president also mentioned the economy set a record in the stock market. And all right, Radek, so I'm getting tired of this rain already.
Ooh, well, you're going to get even more tired of it as we head into the weekend. But for tonight into Friday, a 20 to 30% coverage, so not as widespread as this morning on Thanksgiving. Again, it's going to stick around, and I'll break down the details coming up right after the break. Stay with us.
From WTVM Storm Team 9, home of the exclusive, always live News Leader 9 Mobile Alert Center, sponsored by Headquarter Nissan. Here is meteorologist Radek Jaguski.
Alrighty, let's start off with the all-important weekend, and Sunday looks to be the wetter of the 2 weekend days. As I mentioned earlier, it's another episode of it not raining all day, but there being a chance of that rainfall across the valley. Again, both days and rather warm, 65 and 70 degrees there respectively. Now, we are tracking this stationary front that has parked itself over the Chattahoochee Valley, so we're kind of divided between two air masses essentially. But the good news is right now we're not seeing any rainfall out there, but what we are seeing is some reduced visibilities because of some patchy dense fog, especially up towards LaGrange, south of Columbus around Fort Benning, down towards Eufaula and Fort Gaines. You are seeing those visibilities between, let's say, less than half a mile to a couple miles, so definitely take it slow on those roads. Right now it's 63 in Columbus, down towards Americus we're at 64. Now you notice where that front has kind of sagged south, we're in the 40s up in Alexander City, so our temperatures are rather variable for this evening. So let's time this out for you and see when the rain chances increase once again. We're not going to be talking about a washout tomorrow morning, but there still could be some light showers, so definitely have the umbrella and the rain jacket on standby. And heading into your Friday afternoon and evening, same kind of deal, a 20 to 30% coverage area of these showers and isolated storms. So for tonight, it's going to be rather variable depending on where you are. Some 40s and lower 50s towards the north, more 60s down towards the south. You see 48 in LaGrange, 55 in Columbus, and then, yeah, here's those 60s where you're south of that stationary front, so it's going to be a pretty mild night for those folks down there. Now, in your hometown tomorrow, we're talking about low to middle 70s, just about area-wide, again, with that 20 to 30% chance of some showers and storms. And on Saturday, we have the big game, the Iron Bowl, Alabama versus Auburn in Tuscaloosa, and we're talking about dry weather, but partly to mostly cloudy, and those temperatures in the 60s down towards the 50s by the post-game time frame. And now if you don't like the cold weather, I want you to close your eyes because this is a rather shocking here, but look at this. Come Tuesday, here are wind chills. We are talking about those wind chills being in the 20s and 30s for that time frame, and that is why we're tracking our next cold front here. You can see Sunday night we have that 70% coverage area of showers and storms. That looks to be the wettest time frame. You see the arrow pointing down on Monday, meaning temperatures fall throughout the day. And then early next week, we're dropping into the 40s for highs and 20s for lows. More coming up after the break.
Thanksgiving has a somber tone this year, with more than 260,000 Americans lost to the coronavirus pandemic and high anxiety about how holiday travel and gatherings could lead to more tragedy in the weeks ahead. Karen Cafo reports from Washington.
Macy's still put on a Thanksgiving morning show in New York without the crowds. The parade, just one long-standing tradition, altered this pandemic year. It is a very different Thanksgiving for many families, including, the president-elect said via Twitter Thursday, the Biden family.
I know this isn't the way many of us hoped we'd spend our holiday. We know that a small act of staying home is a gift to our fellow Americans.
But millions of other Americans not willing to alter plans. The TSA said more than 1 million passengers passed through airport checkpoints on Thanksgiving Eve, bucking a warning from the CDC last week that Americans should stay home for the holiday. The rest of the world is watching the situation here anxiously.
I hope that there are many individuals who will enjoy this holiday virtually with people outside of their homes. These decisions really do matter.
U.S. public health experts see this Thanksgiving stretch with its gatherings and travel as a precursor to an even deadlier surge in the coming weeks before vaccines can begin to stem the spread early next year.
The idea is to get everybody to the other side Don't do reckless things by gathering indoors and traveling, and we can save lives.
President Trump spent the morning at his golf course, his final White House Thanksgiving to be marked with a dinner with immediate family and a video conference with U.S. troops. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
And although progress is being made on COVID vaccines, medical experts say people should remain cautious. More than 263,000 COVID-19 deaths in the U.S. today, according to Johns Hopkins University. A modeling forecast from Washington University in St. Louis predicts the U.S. could reach 20 million cases by Inauguration Day. President-elect Joe Biden's team is expected to be briefed by the Assistant Secretary for Health within the next few days.
Work immediately with the Trump administration so we can make sure that we have a smooth handoff for those very complicated logistical issues that we'll have to deal with in distributing the vaccines.
The White House Coronavirus Task Force is calling for a, quote, significant behavior change of all Americans, end quote, to help curb the spread of COVID-19. That includes not traveling during the holidays, wearing masks in public, and keeping physical distance. Coming up on News Leader 9, a COVID-19 update that hit close to home. We visit with Barbara's sister and her battle with the virus. She tells her story of recovery ahead.
Coverage you can count on. This is News Leader 9 at 10 on Fox 54.
And welcome back to the second half of our newscast. As I was driving into work this evening, there was a lot of fog that I saw in the skies. Radek, what can you tell us about that?
Yes, indeed. We are starting to see more spots of patchy, dense fog developing, so definitely take it slow on the roads. And we're definitely seeing that there in Fort Benning, especially south of Columbus there. 0.3 visibility there, up towards LaGrange as well. Many spots isolated there are getting down below a quarter mile, so definitely, again, take that slow. We are tracking the stationary front that has parked itself above the valley here, and we're definitely seeing a discrepancy in where it feels rather pleasant and where it feels still pretty humid. So if you're south of Columbus, you're feeling more humid. If you're north of Columbus, and let's say Highway 80, you are definitely feeling a little bit better out there. But certainly the rain chances do continue, and our temperatures very variable from the 40s, 50s to even upper 60s down towards Americus. All right, we'll talk about the rain chances coming up in the full 9-day forecast, but now I'll send it back to you, Samantha.
All right, thanks so much, Radek. Despite the surge in coronavirus cases across the country, there are people who are recovering. And tonight, we continue to bring you stories of local survivors. And this one is personal. Back in April, our Barbara Gaucher shared her sister was hospitalized with COVID-19. She was on a ventilator for 30 days and spent weeks in the hospital before finally going home a survivor. Tonight, an update on how she's doing. More from our Barbara Gaucher.
Well, the coronavirus certainly affecting a lot of families here in the Chattahoochee Valley.
During a time when COVID had just begun to ravage the country, I learned just how close to home it could hit.
Meet my sister, Debbie Hewling. She's a healthcare worker who is fighting for her life right now.
Thousands of you sent messages of encouragement and prayed for her recovery. It was early April when Debbie was admitted to Piedmont Columbus Regional Hospital after testing positive for COVID-19. Even though she had no symptoms, she did have underlying health issues, and her condition quickly worsened. Within days, she was on a ventilator fighting for life.
And I remember the first day of being in the hospital. Other than that, I think I went in on the respirator like the next day. I don't remember any of being on the respirator.
For family members unable to see or really talk to her, the concern and fear intensified. But in June, after more than a month in the hospital, followed by 2 weeks at regional rehab in Phoenix City, Debbie came home.
I just thank God for everything, because He plus the doctors brought me through. Plus all my prayers, all my well wishes.
Though Debbie doesn't remember much about her hospitalization, a lot happened that she missed during that time, including the birth of her first grandson.
Elijah was born. I'd never seen him before. I never laid eyes on him. And I wanted to. And I just wanted to get back and see my family.
But nearly 6 months later, recovery is still a struggle. Although most days Debbie says she feels good, she still deals with fatigue, tingling in her hands, and overwhelming anxiety.
I'm just afraid. I feel scared. At first, when I first got home, I was afraid to go anywhere. But I have a fear. I'm getting out. I'm nervous. I'm afraid. I social distance. I wear masks. But still, they say you can get it again. I don't want to.
But there's also a sort of an inherent fear of when is the next shoe going to drop.
Carrie Burcham, the chief nursing officer at Piedmont Columbus Regional, says Debbie's story is not unusual. While health experts are still learning about the after effects of COVID, he says anxiety is common in many former patients.
I would say it parallels what I've seen and experienced in my years in healthcare from an individual that experiences any kind of severe illness in their life. It changes you and it changes your thought process.
It has certainly changed Debbie, and while she continues to battle the after effects of COVID, she holds her grandchildren a little closer now, hopeful but cautious as she looks to the future.
COVID is no joke. It's no joke. Anybody can get it. Anybody. And anybody can die from it. I was blessed to come through it. And I thank the Lord for that. He's got something planned for me. So, but I just don't want COVID to be part of that. Be part of his plan for me or anybody.
Such a heartwarming story of survival. Debbie's family would like to thank the healthcare workers as well as all of the people who offered prayers and support. She says it all made a difference. And it's the disease keeping people apart. One of the biggest fears severely ill COVID patients and their families have is not getting to say goodbye. The White House Coronavirus Task Force is making a desperate plea, calling for a significant behavior change of all Americans and warning if we don't, you may not be able to go in the hospital. And healthcare workers on the front lines say it is looking grim at the moment.
You're of a woman who, after over a month in the ICU was recovering from COVID. And that should be a win. But we were trying to call her family every day to give them an update, and we couldn't get a hold of anyone. And then one day we found out it's because her husband had died of COVID and her daughter had died of COVID, all while she was in the hospital.
The CDC is warning the majority of coronavirus spread in the United States is being driven by people without symptoms in household gatherings. For more information on COVID-19, be sure to head on over to our sister station website at WTVM.com/coronavirus for the very latest. And turning now to our holiday news, it's Thanksgiving, and one of the many organizations giving meals today is the Damascus Way Ministry. 2020 and a rainy morning did not stop them from feeding hundreds in Columbus this Thanksgiving Day. Volunteers helped inside the Valley Rescue Mission Women's and Children's Center while playing worship music. Two volunteers tell us the impact the organization has on them.
In September, I called Valley Rescue Mission. I said, I'd like to volunteer for Thanksgiving and Christmas. They said, oh, I'm sorry, we already have our volunteers allocated. I said, this soon? And she said, yes. She said, have you ever heard of Damascus Way? And I said, I'm sorry, I haven't. And she said, well, we need volunteers for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So she gave me directions. Of course, I've lived here all my life, and I've been here since Thanksgiving and Christmas of 1990.
Meals were given in an assembly line and put in bags. If you're just not in the mood for cooking and are craving a late night snack, there are several restaurants open to serve you and your family this Thanksgiving night. COVID-19 has made everything in 2020 a little different, and Thanksgiving is no exception. Many families are not getting together like they normally would. News Leader 9 has put together a list of restaurants and locations that will remain open if you're still hungry this late. Some of them include Denny's, Buffalo Wild Wings, and IHOP. You can find the full list on our website, WTVM.com. And as you're digesting your Thanksgiving delights and thinking about leftovers, make sure you're handling your food safely. The CDC estimates 48 million people get sick from foodborne diseases each year in the United States. All perishable foods need to be refrigerated within 2 hours of cooking. And when it comes to refrigerating food versus freezing it, health officials say food in the fridge can last until Cyber Monday, whereas frozen food is good much longer. Here's another reason why you should get that food put away before watching football or, like me, taking a post-meal nap.
The bacteria was going to grow between 40 degrees and 140 degrees. So you want to put it away in a shallow dish so it gets cooled quickly, and put it in the refrigerator before you take a nap.
When you're ready for your second round of Thanksgiving dinner, make sure to keep reheating tips in mind. Health officials suggest covering and rotating food to make sure everything cooks nice and evenly. Also check the internal temperature of food in several places to make sure it's cooked throughout and ready to eat. Well, 'tis the season to shop local, and businesses in downtown Auburn are gearing up for Blue Friday. That's Auburn's version of Black Friday tomorrow. Jessica Cohn, the coordinator of Auburn's Downtown Merchant Association, says it's one of the biggest shopping days of the year for small businesses in town. She tells us retailers will open at 8 a.m. Central Time for deals and doorbusters, and says this is the perfect opportunity to support your favorite local shops and spots this holiday season.
A lot of them are going to give you gift cards to like the first 25 people in line. You're going to get a better experience when you come and shop with a local business. And not only does it, are you supporting a local business, but you're also supporting your local community with the tax dollars, going back toward right here in Auburn.
Cohn says parking is free Friday. They also have a holiday passport event happening now where you mark off each time you shop at a local business. They'll be choosing 5 people to win more than $150 of downtown gift cards. And coming up, the Carver Tigers go into the playoffs as region champs for the second straight season. We'll check in with Corey Joyner's crew. Sports is next.
From WTVM Storm Team 9, home of the exclusive, always live News Leader 9 Mobile Alert Center, sponsored by Headquarter Nissan. Here is meteorologist Radek Jagoski.
All right, our holiday weekend has technically started, but here's the meat of the 2 days here on Saturday, Sunday. It certainly does seem like we will be talking about Sunday being the wetter of the 2 weekend days, and rather warm, 65 to 70 degrees there for those weekend days. So right now we are tracking on the weather map a stationary front that has parked itself across the Chattahoochee Valley. So we do have some discrepancies in the conditions that we are feeling out there. The good news is area-wide we're not seeing any rainfall, but what we are seeing is some fog with some reduced visibilities. In fact, some of you are around a half a mile there in Fort Benning. Up towards LaGrange, you're getting closer to a quarter mile. 3 miles there in Fort Gaines around Eufaula, so definitely take it slow out there on the roads. Temperature-wise, 63 in Columbus, 63 in Americus, but you notice some 40s showing up north of the I-85 corridor. That's because they're well north of that stationary front that is parked actually down towards, let's say, the Albany area and the Cuthbert area. So high-risk futurecast, again, we do see an increasing cloud cover heading into your Friday morning, and there could be some light showers. Now, they won't be as heavy as they were this morning when you heard some heavy downpour, some thunder. These will just be some light to moderate showers at best. And then heading into your Friday afternoon, again, we see that 20 to 30% coverage of those showers. Again, not a washout, and not everybody will be seeing that rainfall. So for tonight, we will be very variable in terms of those temperatures. 60 down in Louisville, then up towards Alexander City, 50, 48 in Camp Hill. Notice more 40s up towards LaGrange, Columbus, sitting in the middle 50s, and down towards Eufaula, Georgetown, Fort Benning, over towards Americus will be around 60 or even into the 60s. So for tomorrow, again on the warm side, it is going to be in the low and middle 70s with that 20 to 30% storm coverage. And the game, the Iron Bowl, Alabama versus Auburn. In Tuscaloosa, we are talking about those temperatures in the 50s and 60s, but dry conditions. That is definitely the good news. And if you like the cold weather, you're going to love this. What's coming up with the wind chills on Tuesday. Look at this. 20s for those wind chills. Oof, that is going to be a shock to the system, so that's just a heads up for you. But first we got to get through that weekend. Again, rather unsettled. Sunday night seems to be the wettest time frame, a 70% coverage area of storms. Monday we start to clear out, temperatures drop. Tuesday, Wednesday, very cold, 40s, 50s for highs, and those low temperatures getting down into those 20s.
Now from Fox 54 Sports, Dave Plata.
The Carver Tigers are coming off a dramatic win over Troop last Saturday. Now the Region 2 4A champs have to get ready for the playoffs and turn that second straight region title into something even bigger. Jonathan Hoppe tells us how they're riding that momentum.
From a last-second touchdown to the Georgia 4A playoffs, undefeated Carver enters the week with plenty of momentum.
It was a good game, both teams. We just never quit, so it was a good fight from us going into the playoffs, a good game to show that we're going to fight for all 4 quarters.
Actually playing in the game was kind of difficult. I feel like we actually needed, as a team, we needed some adversity to face before we head into the playoffs, make sure we have the confidence in ourselves that we can compete.
The Tigers overcame a 16-point fourth quarter deficit to claim the region title. Now it's on to the next game.
It was a hangover. It was a long hangover because everybody congratulating you, thanking you for the for being region champs and everything. So we just made sure that we got these guys back focused on now the task at hand because everything else done changed.
Carver has been a playoff mainstay in recent years, but the team hasn't won a state title since 2007. There's one key to getting it done this year.
Main thing, consistency and injury-free, you know. That was a big emotional game, and also we got dinged up a little bit in that game as well. So, you know, getting our guys back mentally focused on what they got to do and just trying to stay injury-free.
Personnel is very important, and especially the film and the study and dedication. You know, we have to be very consistent in everything we do because now we're running deep in the playoffs now.
Carver hosts Jenkins on Saturday night. In Columbus, Jonathan Hoppe, WTVM Sports Leader 9.
Kickoff Saturday, Memorial Stadium set for 6 Eastern. That's a look at sports. We'll be right back.
Well, celebrating the holidays this year could give a much-needed boost to your mental health, even if they don't look much like celebrations of the past. Psychologist Deborah Serrani says enjoying seasonal pleasures boosted dopamine and serotonin levels in her patients. She believes it can also help others during this stressful year.
One of the things that COVID and the pandemic have done for us, unfortunately, is made us feel very isolated and disconnected. Take time to remember the memento or the ornament or the particular gift that was given at that time.
She also says if you're somebody who feels like that, just make sure you empower yourself, and it's okay to say no to activities. This is a time for self-care. And pet owners love giving their furry friends treats, but officials say it's important to remember you can't feed them everything that's on your Thanksgiving table. Details on what to keep them away from next. It may be tempting to sneak a treat to your furry companion from the Thanksgiving table, but veterinarians are advising against it. Even though we think a little ham and gravy may be a tasty treat, foods high in fat can lead to pancreatitis. Other dangers for pets at the dinner table include turkey bones, which according to veterinarians is a big no. Coming up after the break, one last check of the weather. All right, Radek, before we go, let's get one last check of that weather.
Right, so tomorrow on Friday will be much drier than today, but still we can't rule out a shower or two along with a storm, and then the weekend remains unsettled. Sunday night is the wettest time frame, and then Monday temperatures drop, and then we are winter-like for early next week. Look at those lows, 20s. That is going to be a shock to the system.
All right, winter weather sounds good to me. Thanks for watching our News Leader 9 on Fox 54. Stay tuned for the news at 11 on our sister station, WTVM.